How's it going, everybody? In this video, I'm going to cover a couple of things that I've gotten quite a few video requests for just recently. And one of those things is installing and configuring the vCenter Server Appliance for vSphere 6. So I'm going to go through the implementation of how to get that working. And I'm going to cover something that I spent quite a bit of time on recently trying to get to work, which is configuring the vCenter Server Appliance just to be on its own, so it's like a standalone device, and then adding it to Active Directory. And the reason why you need to have certain settings in place in order for this to work. Now, the implementation piece of getting the vCenter Server Appliance up and running is relatively easy to do. It's the joining the appliance to the domain that's a little bit more complicated, and I'm going based off of my understanding of how the domain works and things like that. And my the issues that I encountered may be different from yours, but I'm going to show you how I was able to resolve mine. So if I don't solve your problem, I do apologize. So to initially install the vCenter Server Appliance, you need to make sure that you have the vCenter Server Appliance files local to the machine you're going to be installing them from. So that means that when you download the VCSA from VMware's website, and you can download literally just about anything from VMware and get a 60-day evaluation copy. There's a lot of things that I've downloaded from them, and I have several gigabytes worth of ISO files and exe files and things like that. One of the main things you want to make sure you do is you want to download the VCSA and make sure that it's operational. So there's an MD5 checksum you can run on that. So the very first thing that you're going to want to do before you do anything with the installation is double click here on the vCSA folder. And you want to make sure that you install the client integration plugin. If you do not, then you won't be able to actually go through with the install. So install the client integration plugin. That will allow you to use Windows Session Authentication. So basically, use your Active Directory credentials to log into vCenter Server, assuming that vCenter Server is associated to Active Directory. And it will also allow you to deploy an OVF template or an OVF file to the vCenter Server Appliance. So be able to install the vCenter environment. So definitely going to want to click install that first if you haven't already done so. If you have, great. Then you can skip that step. The VCSA installation file right here, this is what needs to be local to the machine you're doing this on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back out here once. And this is assuming you've got everything copied to the computer you're going to be doing this on. Once you have that in place, you're going to want to double click on the .html file. This is where you're actually going to launch the file to install. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this, and I'm going to bring this guy over here. And what you're going to see is it's actually doing a client integration check. It's checking to see if the client integration plugin has been installed. If it has, great, everything should work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to click on the installed button there, and I'm going to click on I accept the license agreement and click on next. And now it's asking me what is the IP address, specify the ESXi host on which you want to deploy the VCSA. I'm going to be deploying this on my current ESXi host, which is 192.168.1.3. I'm going to type in the root level access to this guy, and that's all you have to do. If you have the FQDN or the fully qualified domain name, you can go ahead and absolutely use that. I'm going to click next. It's going to pop up an SSL thumbprint certificate and ask me, is this the right guy? If you know how to check that out, go do so. If you do not, then you'd have to pull up the DCUI and go into the log into that and double check on it. That's how you would do that. Click yes. It's going to go ahead and validate, and momentarily we should be good to go here. And Might take a couple of moments. There it goes. Now it's asking me what is the appliance name going to be. I'm going to say it's going to be VCSA 6-1. And the password I'm going to give it, and do that one more time. Now, what this is specific to, you want to give it the appliance name, not the FQDN, just the appliance name. The FQDN will get applied later on. So the appliance name is what it's going to be, and this is what it will download and install it inside of the ESXi host as. I'm going to go ahead and click Next. Now it's asking me, is this going to be an embedded services controller with a vCenter server? Yes, it will be. I don't have an external PSC to join it to. I actually do, but I'm not going to right now. I'm going to click on Next. I'm going to create a new SSO domain. I could join an existing SSO domain, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to create the password, and that's the password, and do that one more time. The domain is going to be vSphere.local, and the site name is going to be Milwaukee. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Next. Now the appliance size is going to be 10 hosts and 100 VMs, which is more than fine. Click Next. Now it's going to ask me which drive do I want to install it on. I'm going to install this on STAN 1. I'm going to enable thin disk mode. I'm going to click Next. And then it's going to prompt me for the database, which is going to be the embedded database, which is a Postgres GRE. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Click Next. Now it's going to ask me which network I'm going to apply it on, which is going to be the management network, the address family, and then the IP address is going to be 192.168.1.61. And then it's going to ask me the system name or an IP address. I'm going to just give it 192.168.1.61. The subnet mask is going to be a /24. The network gateway is a 192.168.1.1. And then I'm going to say 192.168.1.1. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Next. Invalid NTP. And I'm going to click on Next. Now, it's squawking here saying that an IP address was used, because normally you would use a DNS entry to log into it, but I'm just going to use the IP address. I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to click on Finish, and then the installation goes on. Now it's actually happening as soon as this guy goes from initializing to deploying, which will be here in just a moment. From here on out, it's basically sit here, hurry up, and wait. I'm going to go ahead and grab my host here. I'm going to bring this guy over just a bit, and I'm going to scroll this guy down. You see right here we have VCSA 6 and VCSA 6-1. This is the guy we're installing at the moment. So I want you to be cognizant of that, and if anything happens during the installation, this guy does not get deleted. You have to manually go in and remove it in order for you to be able to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that over to my other screen, and then once this is good to go and it's fully installed, which we should have no problem getting it installed because the fact of what'll be happening. We're not joining it to anything. We're not having to do anything fancy with it. It's like it's a standalone device. We will then later on join it to Active Directory, and I will show you how to do that. So I will pause the video until the point in time when it's completely installed and we're good to go. Alright, so we are fully installed now, which is a good sign. So we could, I've had bad experience with clicking on this, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. Oh, okay, it worked this time, so far. It's probably going to give me the web server still initializing error. Oh, it didn't this time. Okay, cool. So I'm going to log in as administrator at vSphere.local. That's the domain we created previously. And I'm going to go ahead and log in. And we should be okay at that point. Now, the interesting part about this here is there's a couple things you need to do in order to get this to set up correctly. And I'm going to show you the error message that you'll get so that you know whether you're on the right track or not with going bad. And then I'll show you the quick way to fix it. It's not very complicated. It's just you definitely need to know why it's failing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on administration here. And normally what you would do is you can click on configuration and you go to identity sources, click the green plus sign, and click on Active Directory, but it tells you that it's not joined to a domain. So to do that, you click on cancel, go down to system configuration, click on nodes, select the IP address, expand this out, click on manage, go to Active Directory and click join, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click join. I'm going to click on company.com. I'm going to type in rriker@company.com. I'm going to type in my password. Now what this is exactly similar to is if you're going to join a computer or some device to a domain. I'm going to hit the enter key. Now it prompts me up here. It says the following. It says the format of the specified computer name is invalid. So you would think, okay, that's an Active Directory issue. Okay, well, or is it? It actually is not. So what you actually need to do is click on the firewall. You need to go to edit. You need to click on access, or is it networking? Yeah, networking here. Expand this DNS out here. This is what it's trying to do. It's obtain DNS server address automatically. Well, the reason why it's failing is because the fact that the DNS information that this particular device is getting is from my Cisco router sitting here at my house. Well, that router isn't handing out the correct information to give this device the information it needs. Now I could go in there and configure it as, you know, DNS server is the IP address of the domain controller. I totally could do that, but I don't want to mess with the rest of my home network because the domain that I'm configuring here I'm using just to play with vCenter server. So here I'm going to go in here, I'm going to create this guy, and it's not going to be localhost at local domain, it's going to be VCSSA6-1. That's going to be the host name. The preferred DNS server is going to be 114. And then that's all I'm going to do. The alternate is going to be my home router. If it doesn't know how to, if it can't see it in local DNS, shoot it out to the internet, because I have a pointer set up on my router to point out to Google DNS. So I'm going to click on OK. Right, so there we have it. So now, if we were to click on the DNS here, let's go ahead and log into the domain controller, control that guy, log in here. We don't actually see anything log in, right? Let's go ahead and give it a quick refresh. Let's refresh. Okay, nothing joins in, right? Well, that's fine, because what we can do is we can minimize this guy, and then we can come back over here to the administration, and actually, I take that back. I got to go back to system configuration. I missed one step. Nodes. And then I got to click on Active Directory. I have to join it now. So now it gives me all this information. I'm going to click on OK one more time and give this a shot. No issues this time, right? Because now it knows how to call out. I have to do the exact same thing. Let me pull up my remote desktop connection here. For every one of these computers, the domain controller, vCenter server, the admin computer, update manager, the update manager for vSphere 5, I have to manually configure this. Let me jump over here to vCenter server. I have to manually configure this. Let me log in real quick. Right click here on the network adapter, click on Ethernet, and go to details. I have to manually configure the IP address of this guy. So I let it get an IP address from DHCP. Then I go in and say, okay, whatever IP address you have from DHCP, I'm going to let you keep that. I'm just going to manually hard code it. And then I give you the primary DNS server is going to be the domain controller's IP address, so that when it goes out and it calls out to the domain, it knows who to ask for, because the domain controller is running a DNS server. So at that point, we are good to go. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this guy, or actually I'm going to go over here to DC1, and again, you still don't see anything. Oh, now you see VCSA 6-1. That's a good sign, because now it shows up. So now it was able to call out to Active Directory. Now the interesting part about that, though, according to the vSphere documentation, this button right here should go over to leave, as in you it should update itself, but it doesn't. It still says join, which kind of leaves you in kind of one of those, I'm not sure type of deals. So now what we have to do is we have to actually reboot this guy. But before I do that, I'm going to try this. In the previous setup, I did this, and I didn't go in and do this. I rebooted it right away. I'm going to go ahead and see if it'll actually trigger. Okay, I see it's not going to let me do it. So I'm going to have to click on OK or cancel, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to reboot this guy. And if you don't know how to do that, you click on the domain on the vSphere client, and then you click on the vCSA, and you right-click here, and you go to Power, and you go to Restart Guest. Yes, we want to reboot the guest operating system. So now we pull this up over here, and we go ahead and refresh the screen. It'll kick us out. Now if you come over here, this is how you know where you're at. Click on the VM, click on Open Console, and then you'll get this guy. So it's in the process of rebooting. So I'm going to pause the video until it's back up and running, because it does take a few minutes. Once it's back up, then we'll go ahead and get everything situated. So our vCSA has come back up, and I'm going to go ahead and log into it as administrator. Administrator at vSphere.local, and punch in the password, and we should be able to log into the web client now and be in good shape. Now what we have to do is we're going to go to administration and try to add Active Directory as an identity source. And voila, there it is. So I'm going to go ahead and wait for that to finish doing its thing. So it's done. I'm going to go ahead and click add. I'm going to click on Active Directory, and boom, there it is. So what I'm going to go do now is I'm going to click on OK. Now, prior to me doing this, there was some options in here to do some stuff earlier with the SPN and the UPN. I'm not a Microsoft engineer. I really don't know what that type of stuff is. So I believe user principal name is your your username at, well, there you go, and then your service principal name. So there you have it. So that answers my question there. So I'm not going to go any further with that other than what you have there. So I'm going to click on OK. Now we've added Active Directory. Now that's the easy piece. What we have to do now is we have to go up here to users and groups. I'm going to click on groups. I'm going to scroll down to admin or administrators. And now what we have to do is we have to add Active Directory to the administrators groups. So come down here to company.com. We're going to scroll down to domain admins. Click on domain admins, click on add, and click on check names, and voila, they are good. I'm going to click on OK. Now that doesn't actually do anything. It's just we've brought in Active Directory. We have said that as long as we have applied it as a group capable authentication device, that's great. But we haven't done anything with it. We haven't applied it. So what we have to do now is we have to click on here, go down to vCenter's inventory lists. I'm going to click on data centers, or vCenter servers. I'm going to click on this guy, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to manage and click on permissions. I'm going to click on the green plus, and then I'm going to go here to on the left side, click on add. I'm going to scroll down here to company, and I'm going to grab domain admins. Click on add and click on OK. Now I've taken a users and group, and I'm assigning a role. So this is what they refer to as role-based access control, or RBAC for short. So I've given this administrator. I'm going to click on OK. So now it'll add in the company.com domain admins. What that means here is I'll be able to, and I added it at the vCenter level. So that means that the vCenter level is the parent object. Data centers, vSwitches, hosts, virtual machines, storage, all that stuff is a data center object, or a vCenter object that is a child object of the parent vCenter server. So the hierarchy trickles all the way down through everything. So no matter where I'm at in the hierarchy, vCenter level or below, it'll apply to that. So I'm going to click on this guy right here, this down arrow. I'm going to go ahead and click on log out. Because the fact that the user I'm going to log in as is going to be rriker at company.com. I'll come down here, and punch in my password and then log in. It'll let me log in, and then I should be able to do pretty much everything else. And there we have it. So I'm now logged in as me, rrikercompany.com. Everything is good. I'm going to click on the vCenter inventory list, click on vCenter servers, and right now we only have one, which is no big deal, which I am completely fine with that. So that is how you are able to install the vCenter Server Appliance. That is how you're able to go in and join a vCSA to Active Directory, and if you have any issues with it, bugging out or something like that, make sure that the DNS information is correct. And then once that is situated, you can go ahead and join it. And just to make sure that everything is copacetic, log back into the domain controller real quick, and you will soon... Oop, password's incorrect. I typed it in wrong. You'll see that we are good to go. And that's all that really makes a difference. So, I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for viewing.